If we can first agree that there is no perfect musky lake, then we must agree we need to understand the ones we do have. It is for that reason we present to you the anatomy of a musky lake. To study something's anatomy is to dissect it, take it apart piece by piece to better understand its workings. And that's what we're going to do today with Lake X, that magical, mysterious musky lake out there in Angler's Fantasyland. We're going to discover what makes a certain area better in the spring or fall and why. Why are sunken structures so popular of fish producers, and what can make one better than the next? How do we decide as anglers which weed bed to pursue to better our odds at a great musky day? And what about the points? You know, some people just never get the point. Which are really the best, and how can we tell by looking at a point if it will hold fish and when? And those saddles, well, you know, I'm not talking about the ones on a horse's back. I'm talking about natural areas that funnel tons of fish through tiny openings daily. And then, well, there's those areas that reminds me of the dinner table, known as the food shelf. And then I think we'll look at how fish relate to a very vital part of their environment called the thermocline. And what does it mean to you as an angler? Where are the other species' hotspots? And when are they predictable? And could this help you locate your quarry? Learn one of my secrets on how to get the right info when you need it. Why is everyone so hung up on the deepest water? Can this info help you, or does it actually confuse you? You be the judge. In my opinion, it's not only important to note where the public access is on the lake, but to also note that the Department of Natural Resources and sportsmen's clubs alike have posted valuable information pertaining to the body of water you might be fishing, such as slot limits and special regulations. Knowledge of lure colors and patterns being used by locals can and will assist you in sorting out many things on the water, such as bait fish and water clarity, just to name a few. You know, we're going to have some fun here in the next half hour because there's much more to be covered as we take our day and challenge Lake X.
start talking about it.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to talk about it. How many want to know those secrets of the anatomy of Lake Esk? Well, what we're going to do today is we're going to teach you some of those secrets and how you can better apply them to your fishing. We want you to be a better angler when you leave here than when you came. You know, every one of us carry maps at one time or another. And yes, we drop notes on those maps so we can justify our presence or go to that spot and remember things that we didn't know before. But when you see writing on a map from somebody else and they say Great Falls Spot, what are they talking about? Well, they're talking about very fast breaking inside turn areas. Historically good summer vegetation areas. Fast break near shoreline offering easy access to amphibians as well as quick access to deep water safety for the muskie. Those are some of the key elements you need to think about in a fall period. Here we are some 100 yards from shore and it doesn't look like much, does it? Well, you saw that fish get caught just a few minutes ago. Let me show you what's under that water because it's important for you to understand what an inside turn is all about. A classic fall spot. Notice the vegetation on the inside part of the inside turn. It's still green, folks. If that has a northerly or a northwest exposure, you can count on it being very green compared to the outer edges or the fringe edges of that vegetation. That green vegetation gives off oxygen and is cover for bait fish and for the predator. And trust me, this is a gold mine. If you want to catch big fish right before ice up, then this is where you want to be. Seek out an area like this and it'll hold fish. You ever been out in the middle of the lake, seemingly out for nothing, or see somebody out there and wonder what they're doing? Well, that's what you'll do if you're on Cass Lake in Minnesota. Here I am fishing on Cass Lake with Ted Roos, one of the best guides in all of Cass Lake. And trust me, we are on structure. We're going to define that structure in a couple of minutes. But before, let's show you what's on the structure. Stay with her, Teddy. Yeah. I'll just put you in a drift, so.
She's big.
Big fish, huh? You want a net on her?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That will happen. She ate that candy, huh?
Oh, yeah. She really ate it. Bobby, I'm going to come up by you.
Okay. That was my cameraman just about going in the water. Pretty fish.
Yeah. Nice fish. No.
You want her in there?
Yeah.
She's not ready.
She's gone.
She's gone. I asked you, would you trust that net man? Let's take a look at what we're talking about here. We're talking about small rock piles up on top of a huge, huge food shell. These are areas that hold a lot of perch. The vegetation is loose leaf cabbage in there. It's not thick. But these areas are 60, 70 yards, folks, from what we call deep water. But the fish use it in the right conditions. Another area that's similar to that, where we call it a sunken island, and is found in every natural lake on the planet, and quite frankly, in just about every reservoir you might want to fish. These are magnet areas, without any question, without any stretch of the imagination. These are areas that, trust me, you can catch fish in. Because they're isolated, low-traffic areas. They're great summer holding and feeding areas. They're good during post-cold front conditions. The anglers often overlook the potential of these areas, perhaps due to the difficulty of finding good ones. Folks, good electronics like Bottom Line will make that happen. And what is a good one? Well, let's show you what a good one is. Take a look at what we've got here, folks. You notice we don't have a single round object? We're looking for areas with character, with contour. Give it some vertical upon a vertical, and folks, you're going to have areas that will hold bait fish. If it holds bait fish, it will hold the predator. Now think about bait fish far beyond minnows and what have you. Think about crayfish. They're as effective as holding these fish as anything else. Notice the cabbage we have along this sunken island. If you can find vegetation mixed in these humps, you've got it made. Irregularity is the key. Humps that come out of deep water, relative deep water, say 25 to 30 feet, are phenomenal fish producers. And don't expect to find one fish. You will find numbers of them. Muskies loosely group into what we call packs. Have you ever seen a guy out there working in the middle of nowhere, a little bit of cabbage around, that type of situation? You wonder, what's he doing out there? He doesn't have a marker buoy down. You got to ask yourself, what's he doing? Well, in most cases, you probably have a post-cold front situation, and you've sought out a secondary area we call submerged weed beds. Throw something like a giant jackpot across a submerged weed bed in the right condition, folks, and the rest is going to blow you away for the rest of your lifetime. It is incredible the results that will happen if the lure is positioned properly. Telltale vegetation on the surface can do this. Net.
Net?
Yeah, bet. Yeah. And you notice I didn't say net, please. Oh, she's around the line. If this fish makes a hard move, we're gone. We're going to lose her. Ron, just come down the water. She's line is through her mouth.
I can't find the dam.
Think about what he's doing.
I can't find the damn clip. We got her now.
Okay, hold on now.
Can we take her?
If you can. Okay, come underneath her. Don't lift her out of the water.
I will not.
Ron, that is a 40-pound fish.
Oh, right, Bob.
If it ain't 40, it's awful high 30s. Hang tight, hang tight.
Whoa.
Okay. I got so nervous when I saw that line was through that fish's mouth. Berkeley Ultramax has got my vote, big guy. Big fish. Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at 40 pounds. Okay, get another one.
Red light.
Okay. Oh, one more, quick. Okay, I'm going to get this fish back.
Ooh, Bob. What a beautiful fish.
Yes, I am tired. That's the result of effectively
C.P.R.
working in secondary submerged weed bed.
What?
Let's take a look at this animation as we go through the weed bed we want to fish. Don't look at the cast we're making right now. Pay attention to the track of the boat. When you're fishing something like my 492 Ranger, you can go through this in a stealth mode, absolutely quiet. Keep your foot on the trolling motor, keep consistent, and work in the vegetation, folks. These fish are not going to be prowling around. They're in there for a reason. The cold front has put them down. What you need to do is go in and pull them out. Something like the Awaker, I can guarantee you will do it. I ask you, does it work? Okay, here we go. What I have just showed you are two of the most effective surface lures on the planet. Feels like a pretty good fish. We're going to need a net, I think. Yes.
Okay. Tell me when she's ready.
Not yet. Hang tight.
You just shout.
The vegetation you see to the right there was the only telltale sign that this weed existed.
Nice fish.
We located this area with our side finder on the front of the boat. We actually marked this fish prior to catching it. Good fish. Oh, there we go, babes. Let me see if I can hand grab her.
Okay, you want me to grab your rod?
No, she's not ready yet. The rod I've got in my hand is a 6-foot St. Croix Premier Graphite. And trust me, that rod is loaded right now with a 50-inch class fish. You don't want to go into big fish waters with too small of equipment. Be prepared with the right equipment. She's just trying to corkscrew down here. Boy, I can't get over this line. How much I like this line. Slow down, sweetheart.
You want to save the net on her?
I'm going to try to hand grab her.
Okay.
She's about 50 inches, though. Come here, baby doll. Come here. Now, let's go to the net with her. I'm going to get her in the net. I don't want to hurt her. Okay, hang tight now.
When you put a big fish in the net, folks,
leave it down in the water. Or lift the rim. There you go. We got a 50-inch fish.
Let's take a look at that track one more time. Now, this time I want you to watch the casting. Because what we're trying to do is hit every visible object we can see. Throw beyond it, throw over it. Folks, you have to call these fish out. The giant jackpot is so productive at doing this, it's incredible, because it is staying in one position for so long in that linear track of that lure that these fish absolutely have to respond to it. Sometimes you don't catch them, but other times you do.
Big fish.
Okay. You ready?
Hold on. How many want to catch one like that?
Okay. Not bad.
This is fishing with a good friend of mine. In case you guys don't know him, Danny Hawks.
Yeah, she's a nice fish.
Beautiful fish.
Okay, get her back.
Oh, she fat. Look at her stomach. She's got something in her stomach.
Yeah, on a waker.
See that bulge?
Nice fish. Good, clean release, too.
Look at how big she is.
Yeah.
Now, let's take a look at another type of vegetation that we have available to us. It's much more vertical. It's what we call a typical weed line, something that dumps into 12, 15 foot of water or even more. Notice the casting we have going on in that lower animation. The guy in the back of the boat, or the gal in the back of the boat, should be throwing in opposite directions and opposite places of where the guy in the front is throwing. Folks, the simple fact that your lure crosses that object at a different angle could trigger the fish. Don't try to compete with the guy in the back of the boat.
Put a 50 in the bottom of the boat right now.
There we go. This is fishing with Marv Kiley. We have a weed bed 12 feet deep. Outside breaks to 25 feet. We're doing exactly what we just showed you. We are hitting small inside pockets as we go across this weed line. We're doing this particular one with a spinnerbait, something very similar to the Muskie Boss by Stanley. These lures will call these fish out of these vegetated pockets.
Oh yeah, nice fish.
The little bit of wind we have coming in on that weed line will help you every time.
I think we're going to need a net on the Marv. You got it?
Okay.
Okay. If you have a situation where you can hold your boat, stay out in the deeper water, cast into that vegetation, and slow fall that spinnerbait as you're rolling it back out off that edge. Those fish are going to be focused into that wave action. And when that lure comes by, it's fair game. Remember, we're talking about an opportunistic feeder, the most selective in fresh water. Give them the presentation that works, and consequently you will catch giant muskies. Here again, I can't stress enough about the equipment we're using.
Okay, we got her.
We got a high 40 anyway, huh?
Nice fish, Bob.
Okay, tell you what I want to do.
Out the way.
She's over 50.
You bet that right.
She's over 50. I'm just going to sit her right back down there. We're blowing in toward these weeds, and you said it's pretty mucky up in here, right?
It is.
Okay.
We got high water. She looks like she's got a girth on her, Bob. That's a high 30-pound fish.
Oh, she's got to go. Yeah, it's a high 30-pound fish.
You want me to take the electric?
No,
Let's take a look at another object that exists in our natural lakes and our reservoirs. We call it a point. And there's a point to fishing points, folks. What this does is breaks up the normal continuity in a shoreline. Anytime you break that pattern, you will have a stopover place for fish. However, I have to caution you. Points are generally steady weather condition areas. They are not good in multiple front systems. Take advantage of these when things are steady, because the fish will slide up on these things and utilize them in a big way. Take a look at the fish on this point and ask yourself if we're not telling the truth.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Bob. Oh, yeah.
And I'm going, oh no. Gonna need a net.
Yep, net's coming.
Not yet, not till I say
Yep,
so.
nice here. Nice fish, Bob.
She hasn't even moved yet, though.
Yep.
Okay, I'm coming around.
Yep. No, you're not. She had another thought.
Yeah. And they say muskies don't fight.
Okay, take the net down the water because the hooks are...
Oh, yes, baby.
Nice fish. She's really green.
Yep.
She's wrapped up pretty good. Okay, I'm going to bring her to you.
Yep.
Come up underneath her.
Got her. Oh, big fish, come on. There she is. There she is. Nice fish.
A nice fish.
Nice fish. That's the one we've been looking for.
Just hang on to her now. Hang on.
Yep,
I'm going to
she's
get some
fine.
cutters.
She's
I saw it
absolutely...
in real time. Let's show it to you in slow motion. Watch this fish go away from the side of this boat. And ask yourself why I have 60-pound braided Ultramax on that reel right now. Why am I talking quality bait casters? Because you need them when a fish does this to you. And a heavy action muskie rod, one of Premier's St. Croix Premier Graphites, are exactly what you're going to need. This fish contorted, spun, and turned in every direction imaginable. And this is the result. 53.5 inches.
Oops, she's gonna go. Got her? There you go. You got the right idea.
One more?
The P in points stands for productive. But let's discuss why they're productive. Yes, bald rock points will hold fish. But look for ones with character. Up on that shoreline there, you see the broken stump. That indicates to me, as an angler, that there are objects below the surface, i.e. that tree you see laying there. Generally, it will hold sedimentation falling down the edges, which will hold cabbage, which will hold coontail and milfoil. These areas will harbor baitfish, crayfish, and all of what it takes to feed this ecosystem. You have this, and you have giant fish. However, we have more than just one kind of point out there. We have points within points, almost considered a pattern within a pattern. Off these points, if you take time looking with your electronics, you will find areas that will give you identically what you see up above down below. It may be 6 to 10 feet deep, but nonetheless, it's a taper to deep water, and they hold fish. Pete Olson here is to prove it while throwing the pig, a new lure coming out by Odyssey Lures.
Stay with her. You got her. Oh, that away, Pete. Stay with her.
That's not the big one.
That's still a nice fish. You want a net on her? You want a net on her, Pete?
Stay in there.
Just work her back. You got lots of line, lots of power. Just work her back.
Come on out of there.
Nobody wants to go do this, huh? Nice fish.
I'd like to get that nose towards you. There. Maybe this time.
Pretty fish. Not ready yet.
Yeah, there we go.
You got good hooks in her. Don't worry about her. That's the pig. You're going to see a little bit more of this lure as we go on in this production, but that's a new lure that's being introduced this May. Trust me, folks, 4 days on the water, sightings of over 4 fish.
What is that, 45?
45, 47?
47?
I swore Pete to secrecy before he was able to even throw it.
Ornery, cuss.
There's your brown one. You wanted a brown one.
Yeah,
You got a brown
that
one.
looks like a Boulder Junction fish.
Okay, let's get her back. Looks like. Nice job, big guy.
Oh, that is something.
Yeah, she got a little scar there. It's not from us, though. It's from before.
Yeah.
When you
You got
handle
some-
fish,
Ken,
hang on to her tail. You can scar and hurt these fish.
Yeah.
Please take good care of them while they're in your hands. If you don't take good care of these fish, they're not going to be there for us in the future. Another area you'll find on every natural lake that you go to and in some cases reservoirs that are around the country. These are areas we call saddle areas. And no, this is not the same type of thing as putting a saddle on a horse's back. However, there are some fish that live in these areas that you could quite frankly put a saddle on. These are the kind of areas that Frank and I and a number of other people through the past years have caught super big fish. These areas funnel bait fish. They funnel forage and predators alike. In situations where you have early spring conditions or you have post-cold front conditions, these areas will sometimes hold fish strictly because of their shallow nature on the top. These areas will absolutely warm up much faster than other portions of the lake. Stay upwind on the shallow-most side, throw to the deeper edge, which is where the fish is going to generally be, and they will come up on top for these areas. If you have a slight wind going across the top of this, it's magic. And we're going to talk about that in a little while. But here we are, fishing in Mercer, Wisconsin, and we had exactly what we talked about. Cold front conditions, and sun came out, and this is the result. Again, we're throwing a giant jackpot.
Oh, ain't a big one?
Oh, it's about 40 inches.
40? Jeez.
Dwayne Landmeyer's in the boat with us right here.
Get my
We,
camera
quite
out of
frankly, had all we could do to catch fish in the 3.5-day period we were there. The fish we did catch were all very, very difficult to catch. They were all cold front situation fish, and we learned a lot about where the fish stays and how it relates to some of these structures.
She decided she's going underneath the boat. We got free spool on her.
Notice the point off my shoulder. There's another one right behind us. This saddle come out of 25 foot of water up on top. She was only 2 feet deep at the deepest point on top of this rim. Water temperature was 2 degrees warmer on top of this than it was on the upwind side.
Right here. Boy, these fish are they just don't give up. I'm waiting for her to jump. She's gonna do it yet.
That's a beauty. Man, that thing really slammed that jackpot.
In a big, big way. She ain't liking this, though.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you handle fish like this, be careful. You can get hooked up. We use barbless hooks, and we work a lot of fish. But I caution you, when you do it, try to read the fish. Don't rush into the situation. Take your time. It is the best way to handle the fish, nonetheless it can be dangerous. Let's take a look at that element we were talking about there just briefly, the wind. If you bring the wind into this picture, you have created an absolute magnet area for these fish. Again, that sun is shining on us. That surface temp may be coming up 1 degree or 1.5 degrees in the day period. That wind comes over the top and creates small beck eddies on the backside. When the backside is the deeper water, those eddies are absolute magnets. They will pull the bait fish in there and they will pull the predator. 1.5 or a 1 degree water temperature change is like going from 75 degrees to 90 degrees for us. There is a huge change. These fish become active. A little silt, a little mud bottom going across the top of that creates a darker water in that back eddy and is prime for feeding. You don't want to overlook those situations because they are big fish areas. You know, a food shelf is being talked about more and more in the fishing environment. In the community itself, we are starting to use this dialogue. What is a food shelf? Well, I kind of think about it as being the Thanksgiving table with nothing left after a good meal, if you know what I mean. And that's how productive these areas can be, quite frankly. They are not going to jolt up from the bottom. They are not going to come up and hit you. They are not lower unit finders. What these areas are is very large expansions that gradually come out of deep water areas and plateau pretty flat, say 3 to 4 feet deep, but for about maybe 50, 60 yards wide. These fish come up on top of there in extreme low light conditions and in steady weather conditions. You add a little vegetation and you'll have bait fish and you'll have more muskies in one single area than you can shake a stick at. These fish, these areas like this have been responsible for friends of mine like Frank Schneider and I, where we have pulled up 10, 12 fish out of a single area. What's thermocline? Anybody know? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's a gradient indicating a rapid change in temperature within a depth of a lake. That's important because if you know what the thermocline is and how it relates to fishing, you'll be much better off. Most low-clarity lakes are eutrophic, and normally these lakes have less oxygen below the thermocline in the summer. Muskies are less likely to inhabit these areas. Deep, clear, oligotrophic, and early-stage mesotropic lake steps are well oxygenated throughout the summer. Folks, what you have just learned there, in short, is clear water systems will harbor fish way down to the thermocline. Darker water systems will not develop a thermocline, nor will they harbor deep water fish. So think about that when you choose your lake. Think about that when you get to the lake you may not have chosen and you have to fish it. Speaking of fishing a lake you didn't choose but you have to fish it, it is in your best interest to know everything you can about the forage basin of that system. And yes, we can talk about chuds, we can talk about suckers, we can talk about whitefish, cisco, tulaby, all of the common forage. But that's not what we want to talk about. We want to talk about the other bait fish. Because muskies are opportunistic feeders, and they are going to feed on what gets in their path, folks. The crappie is as much a bait fish as anything else. Or how about when you see somebody's marking on a map, or even your own marking on a map, and you're looking to start a new place, and it says bass, early in the season. Huh. Well, we can fish muskies down here pretty early, and as you go further south, you can fish them even earlier. Areas like that could be plentiful with muskies. How about that little point over there that always holds that 10 and 12-inch walleye? Well, that could be exactly what you're looking for. And you've heard about the areas that are great for sunfish and crappie. Those are the kind of areas that linger a little bit on into the summer patterns. Well, if you have that knowledge, you'll be able to take advantage of that and go catch fish. There's a reason I'm pointing this out. What you're seeing is a tackle store, and tackle stores are absolute. We need them. There's no doubt about it. Inside these tackle stores are lures. There's more education inside these stores than you can shake a stick at. But if you walk into most tackle stores in musky areas and you ask where the muskie are biting, trust me, you're not going to get the right answer. But if you walk in there and say, hey, where the crappie been going? Anybody know where the little walleye been going? Trust me, you'll catch more fish, and that's a good secret.
Steve
What's
Suick
deep
asked
water,
me if I'd
and how deep is it?
on the water for him a little bit this year, so you can see the vegetation out. I can see a dark spot right in front of the boat. You can go either way. You can go to a Cisco or stay high.
Okay.
I think if it were me, though, I think I'd be looking to go a little deeper.
Okay.
Bright and sunny. See that pocket of cabbage right there behind us?
Yeah.
And you can see the deep water around it?
We've changed off here. We've gone to a Cisco Kid. That sun is bright. The wind is a little blowing there. But bottom line is the fish haven't been shallow. We spent half the day looking for them, couldn't find them. We found this little obstacle out there, a darker section in that weed bed. We opted to take a shot at it with a crankbait. And the rest is basically history. What you're going to see is proof and evidence that if you use the water properly, you will catch fish. Notice the boat over there on the far side? Well, they're still fishing the shallows. We went to the deep water because we thought the fish would be there.
Awesome.
I can't tell you how many times we have caught fish with other boats in our exact presence. We are doing things differently than they are. There's no question of that. What we're trying to point out here to you folks is if you're out there and if you're trying to find fish in your normal haunts after a cold front and they're not there, and you have a clear water system, which this particular lake in Mercer is, don't be afraid to take out something like that Cisco Kid crankbait and go down and try to root them out of that cabbage. You can also slow roll big spinner baits like the Stanley Muskie Bloss.
She hit that thing deep, boy. But she hog-tied herself on the tail. Come here, sweetheart.
Wow.
This fish here is indicative of the area up in northern Wisconsin. You'll catch a lot of these fish between 32 and 36, 38 inches. Those waters up there are plentiful with them. What we need to do is get the state of Wisconsin active in maintaining a management scheme for quality, as we do here in the state of Minnesota and other surrounding states. The state has the potential to harbor big, big fish. We need to get them back on that quality theme. So if you know people over in the Wisconsin area, don't be afraid to express your opinion on quality. Remember, quality breeds quantity. And you notice the barbless hooks.
Oh, no, nope. Still roving water. Not a bad little fish, but she lassoed herself when she come blowing out of the side of the water there. Oh, we're gonna get bigger ones than this though. Front's coming in. We're on these Cisco Kids. Just keep working the outside edge of this weed line. What do you think?
Sounds good.
And the front came in. It actually came in the form of a tornado. What is access, folks? Access means this is where you can go to the water. This guy's running to Minnetonka Boat Works to get a new Ranger. He's told me that. When you get to the access, you're going to see a number of signs that you need to pay attention to. Speaking of things such as Eurasian milfoil, Dedicated muskie lakes, no spearing allowed. And other things like slot limits. Things you need to know about that system if you're going to be out there. Ignorance is no excuse. And folks, when you venture onto the water, please do not disregard it. Do not throw your monofilament line or any other matter into that water. Berkeley, our fine people down in Spirit Lake, Iowa, have got a beautiful program to eliminate this. Pick it up and send it to Berkeley. Let's look at Simply Fishing's hit list. You know, we like to bring programming to you folks and things that you can visualize with, understand, and be a part of. And part of that means we throw a lot of surface lures because you can identify exactly what's going on. Take a look at this lonely little jackpot coming off that point. And imagine how far it's going to get before some critter comes out of nowhere and eats it. Not very far, huh? Thrill like that will last your lifetime, no question about it. It doesn't have to be a monster fish.
Where did she go off? Oh, Bob.
Man, did that fish go to the air.
Head over heels.
But like I said, we like to show you the lures that we're using because these are the lures that catch fish. Let's identify what we're talking about. Here's the Cisco Kid. Comes in a couple of different sizes. This crankbait has a metal lip and is a high producer of mid-depth lake fish. They can be trolled or casted. This is the common, everyday, ordinary reef hog from Fidelity Tackle. I'll tell you what, I've caught more fish over 45 inches on this lure than I can count. Fish way into the 40-pound mark have fallen to this lure. If you don't throw a suic, chances are you're missing one of the finest lures on the planet. You notice this black suic here? It's my favorite. Nobody got that, huh? Here's the Awaker. This is the lure that's responsible for my world record release of 56 inches. 360-degree rotating tail, mechanically intense, however, it catches fish. And this is great when the water temps are 65 or better. Recently, you've seen me throw this lure, the Stanley Muskie Boss. In the first 20 minutes after I was told I needed to shoot a commercial for this lure, I pumped a 40-pound fish. That fish, right now, is witnessed on that commercial every week. The Giant Jackpot. I can't say enough about this lure. Its simplicity in motion. It is effortless to throw. It is effortless to work, and it catches super big fish. Every color under the rainbow will work depending on the options you have to deal with. Now, I showed you that fish, right? And I told you it was a thrill of a lifetime to have one of these fish come up and eat a lure like that. But I asked you, how many paid attention to that fish? You watch this, you tell me, is this a 10? And I think you know what I'm talking about. If we were rating this in the Olympics, you give me the number at the end of this. I only ask you one thing. Does she make it all the way around? How about a round of applause for the Muskie, folks? I think she made it, don't you?
Come here, sweetheart.
That fish was also on a barbless hook.
Boy, did she sky, didn't she?
Where did she go off? Oh, Bob.
Man, did that fish go to the air.
We're showing you this
Head over
material for a
heels.
reason, folks. This fish, in my opinion, should be going ballistic right now. I'm going to hand grab this fish. There's no question of it. What I need to do is read that fish, predict its movements, and be ready for anything that might happen.
You gonna go again, babe? Kind of leery of you.
I should be. I got hooked the day before.
Yeah, I know you are. Man, did she sky, did she?
Oh, that was beautiful. Just gorgeous.
Incredible.
Well, she didn't do much. So I put my hand down there and went after her. That long-nosed pliers we're using usually gives us the defense we need, a little bit of buffer between us and the fish. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this nice little muskie. About 45, 46 inches.
Oh, she's chunky. Real chunky.
Pretty nice fish, huh? Oh, that's what it's all about on a jackpot.
She had no problem finding it.
Oh.
You take the
No
lure
problem,
groups
Bob.
we've shown you out on the water, and I can guarantee you place them in the areas that you should, and you'll catch fish. Remember I told you I'd introduce you to the pig? Watch what happens when the pig hits the surface. Remember what they say, pigs get fatter, hogs get slaughtered. Can you believe that fool threw in there again? Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see a lot more of the pig in the future. I can guarantee you it's going to get playtime. That dog can hunt. You know, when you're out there in the morning, you're in your resort, you're in your cabin about 5:30, and you're getting ready to go fishing, and you hear this, and you think to yourself, oh, man, only on a weekend. I mean, you waited all week to get there, right? So you kind of contemplate, well, should I go or not? And then that happens. Well, in my best opinion, most of the time I would roll back over and go to sleep at this point. But you know you got to do it. So you start getting ready. And then that happens. Well, folks, you know it's going to be tough. And in most cases, unless I were fishing a tournament, I would probably back off and go to sleep. Fishing a television show like we do is no different than a tournament, so we have to catch those fish. You can do it, but I got to tell you this. Look for the deepest, or excuse me, the thickest weed beds you can find. Very close to verticals, sharp verticals. These fish will settle into these weed beds. They may not break off that edge, but they'll settle into those weed beds. This is a situation where you're only going to find 1 or 2 fish active out of the full society. As in the case here, fishing with Ted Gwynn, I want you to witness, if you might, an absolutely extraordinary event.
This is a nice fish. You got it, huh, young man? What's your name? J. Herb? Where are you from? Earp? Like in Wyatt Earp?
Like in Wyatt.
Oh, he's a hot hook on the water, too, huh? Where are you from? Western Springs, Illinois, huh? That's a nice fish. Got your hands full there, Teddy.
This is what it's about. Father and son. Mother and daughter. Mother and son. The point I'm making here is get these kids out on the water. They will, can, and want to fish more than just panfish, folks. Let them go after the big critters. They're out there for everybody.
Never kept one.
Yep. Caught his first one with Doc Cotton.
With Doc Cotton?
Yep.
That's
The gentleman
definitely a
holding
good
that
fish.
fish is Ted Gwynn, one of the best guides on Leech Lake. Now listen to what Teddy says here. It's sort of indicative of muskie fishermen.
48 and a half, 49?
49.
Yeah.
I can get another inch by going.
He can get another inch. I think every muskie fisherman on the planet thinks that.
She's clean fish.
Yep.
Now it's raining, it's cool, it's cloudy. What he's doing to this fish right now isn't damaging the fish at all. However, notice the fish's head here in just a second. If this happens right there, it's time to get the fish out of the boat. That can be the most damaging portion of hurting the fish out of that water. Their heads are extremely fragile. Their brains are the size of a pea. We don't want to hurt these super fish.
First of all, take his tail. Like that. Get a good grip. And I'm going to let go of him.
Now, Jay, if you kind of lay down on your belly, you can put your hand underneath his head and rest his head there.
Hey, Mike, let me see your camera. I'm going to jump in this boat and get a picture of this right now. Oh, okay. Okay, wait, I got this. Okay, hang on. You want to pull on? Okay.
Well, that's a fat fish.
Okay, son, now put your hand underneath his head, right behind the gills. There you go. And you'll be able to lift his head up. Okay, we're going to let them slide away here.
See if you can get his head up. I'm going to get a little farther away.
Yeah.
I'm moving the boat, Ted.
Okay.
There you go. Now you got her under control.
Okay, Jay, look at me this time.
That's going to be a good picture, eh? Can you imagine what it'd be like? 12 years old,
Nice fish.
30 pounds, and you blew away everybody else out there? I'm telling
She
you.
ready to go?
This
She'll
kid
slide
was
out of your
excited.
hand.
When they want to go,
There
folks,
she goes.
they'll
She's
knock.
kicking.
There they go.
Let her
They
go.
want to
There you go. Good job, young man. Good job. We got a 3-ring boat circus here, but nice work. Let me shake your hand. 13 years old, putting back a fish like that. Congratulations. Folks, I'm telling you, it's raining out here. It couldn't get any worse than what it is right now. But there's the man that showed us the water here. You watched him on the show the other day. He's got clients out here with him. Ted Gwynn, right here from Leech Lake, taking one of the young men out here, and it's Jay Earp, right? Down from Illinois to catch one of Leech Lake's super fish. Well, you guys are kind of unexpected guests on the show, aren't you?
Yes, we didn't expect that.
Well, congratulations. You've done a really fine.
We'd like to thank the following sponsors. Berkeley Power Baits, a formula so powerful fish bite and won't let go. Bottom Line Fish Finders, see what you've been missing. Ely, Minnesota. Visit Ely in northeast Minnesota, the wild north. EPSON Computer Products. When you've got an EPSON, you've got a lot of company. Pinpoint Trolling Motors. When you're on the structure, you're on the fish. Pose Lures, maker of the Awaker and Giant Jackpot. Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. St. Croix Rods, fish with an American legend. Stanley Jigs, maker of the Pike and Muskie Boss Spinnerbait. Warden's Lures, makers of rooster tail, flatfish, and other great fish-catching lures. Please practice C.P.R. The future of fishing depends on it. This has been a Bob Mehsikomer Simply Fishing production.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending the Anatomy of a Muskie Lake. How many want to go do that? Boy, there's a couple, aren't there? How many in here caught muskies over 50 inches?
Hi everyone, Bob Mehsikomer here. How would you like to improve your fishing skills, knowledge, and on-water productivity? Well, Simply Fishing has compiled a collection of videos aimed at doing just that. After learning the information contained in this collection of tapes, you won't have to make excuses while your friend or neighbor outfished you anymore. He or she will be too busy trying to keep up with your extraordinary level of knowledge and abilities on the water. Start learning how to catch fish when you go fishing. To learn more about this information-packed library, simply call 1-800-222-8775.